critical to learn the country's economic development problem to better understand their economic growth and determine how events directly or indirectly affect them. Due to a slew of economic issues, Nigeria is facing economic development problems in agriculture, climate change, education, food security, gender, health and nutrition, poverty, and so on. The country is suffering from frequent drought, which cause food shortages, as well as lack access to proper sanitation, places little emphasis on girls' education, has a low adult and youth literacy rate, and has a high poverty rate, resulting to last ranking in 2018 as per the Human Development Index. Given that, we will only focus on Nigeria's education problem, which is its low literacy rate. Nigeria's education situation is that the primary and secondary enrollment rates are 29% and 7% respectively, which is the low rate if you will consider Nigeria's large population. Aside from that, the student-teacher ratio in primary is 42:1 and secondary is 28:1. And it is a high ratio, right? Further to that, when the nomadic group relocates, the school relocates as well to reach more children. According to BVOT in 2019, Nigeria has one of the lowest literacy rates globally, and its education system needs to be improved since it has a significant impact on Nigerians' daily life. Some of the major issues confronting education in Nigeria include the country's ranking at the bottom of the United Nations Development Programme's Education Index, a low adult youth literacy rate, many students still unable to read and write at the end of primary school, unequal education for men and women, a high pupil-teacher ratio, and a direct impact on food security and poverty on school attendance. Before we examine and interpret the data for Nigeria's low literacy rate, let us talk about first what Niger is like as a country. Niamey is the capital of Niger. It is bordered on the south by Nigeria and Benin, on the west by Mali and Burkina Faso, on the north by Libya and Algeria, and on Chad's east. Aside from that, the country was ranked second as world's least developed by the United Nations in 2016. Unfortunately, the spread of coronavirus disease has a negative impact on Nigeria's economic development concerns such as education, poverty, health and nutrition, and many others in 2020. Nigeria is classified as a least developed country since it is at a severe disadvantage in its development process. According to the United Nations, Niger is one of the 10 least developed countries with an HDI of 0.354. If you are wondering how a country is classified as a least developed country, according to Majaski in 2020, if it meets all three criteria, which are scarcity of human capital, the fragility of the economy, and a criterion that can be adjusted based on a 3-year average of GNP per capita. Of course, if criteria are met, countries may be removed from the list of least developed countries after 2 consecutive 10-year reviews.
It is unfortunate that Nigeria is still at the bottom of the list of countries in terms of literacy rate, and if their government does not step up, they will remain in their current state for a long time because, as a poor country, it will be difficult for them to develop even if there are various organizations that will assist them.
For over 20 years, Nigeria's literacy rate has been vacillating back and forth. On its early years, it has a significantly lower youth literacy rate of 19.8%, far behind the 30% literacy rate of its neighboring country like Burkina Faso. However, I can tell you that Nigeria began to thrive in the subsequent years, attaining a peak of 43.5% in 2018. But if you'll ask me how did it happen, well, it was because of the increase in the gross enrollment rates for primary and secondary students, as well as in the rise in the completion rates. As mentioned earlier, there was an unequal opportunity in education between men and women. Hence, young male population outnumbered females in terms of literacy rates. According to UNESCO, 35.5% of adult population was illiterate in 2018. Nonetheless, Nigeria's adult literacy rate has significantly improved throughout the years. Additionally, there were around 25 million total estimated number of population in 2021, but only 19.1% of them are literate. And with that, it is unfortunate to say that more than 10 million Nigerians are not capable of reading and writing. Education in Nigeria is free, but not all the areas have access to it. Most Nigerian adults are illiterate, and one obvious reason is that female teenagers marry before the age of 18, leaving only 1/3 of them with an education. We know the majority of students remained illiterate even after they completed their primary education. It was despite the fact that students ages 7 to 15 are required to attend school. So, what was really the problem? Well, based on the data, only about a quarter of primary school-aged children entered school as only a few of them obtained an educational opportunity, and the remainder had already dropped out. Students like the Bakara siblings also struggled to speak and understand the French language of education, causing them to lag behind their peers. Aside from this, only half of the teachers have completed the government-mandated minimum training standards. But do you know what was the most common causes are for students missing classes? These are the food insecurity and the extreme poverty that they're experiencing up until now. Do you know that a lack of education is associated to a poor quality of life? It was and will continue to be the case in Niger if the country's low literacy rate will not be addressed as soon as possible. As per COPI, a lack of a strong and inclusive education system impedes the promotion of human rights, poverty eradication, economic growth, and sustainable development. People in Niger are also unable to understand the problem of food insecurity due to a lack of education, and even if they do, their limited knowledge makes developing solutions difficult. It was even worse when children were affected by the problem because they were still forced to work. Women are the country's assets who can help generate future income. Due to this, the low literacy rates for women contributes to higher household poverty rate, higher population growth, as well as economic loss. As Niger grapples with complex educational problems, the government has taken several actions in collaboration with various organizations. They first developed an education and training sector plan to address a range of educational issues in their country. This will continue until 2024. In 2009, the Niger State Education Strategic Plan was designed, which included 4 objectives. But to tell you, implementing these policy objectives only makes a smooth progress due to some factors like a lack of financial resources. The Nigerian government also joined the UNESCO's CAPEN program and initiated the Teachers Policy Formulation process to enhance teachers' capacity and overall teaching quality. Niger also doubled its education spending, allocating 6.8% of its total GDP to education in 2014. The Educate a Child and Plan International collaborated as well to implement the Pass Plus project, which intended to break down educational barriers in Niger. What's more is that Rain for the Sahara in Sahel also assisted in matching at-risk women with female mentors to ensure their academic success. At last, UNESCO made a project to create a girl-friendly school environment and to introduce more female role models for young girls.
These are the 6 policies that will be implemented to address all issues mentioned previously. First, increased availability of educational and instructional materials may aid in the improvement of Niger's educational system. In the research of Bukoye entitled Utilization of Instructional Materials as Tools for Effective Academic Performance of Students in 2018, the findings imply that students in private-owned schools recognize their teachers' use of instructional materials in their classes and notice how this affected their educational learning. Following that, lowering the student-teacher ratio will improve the learning environment because it significantly impacts teacher effectiveness and student achievement. In the study of Koch and Salik entitled Impact of Student-Teacher Ratio on Student Achievement in 2015, there is an inverse relationship between the average student-teacher ratio and city ranking, which means that the city ranking improves as the average number of students per teachers decreases. Additionally, encouraging community outreach efforts may be conducted in collaboration with schools in the community to elevate and expand schools to a level that accommodates all learners by increasing opportunities for experiential learning, enhancing classrooms, providing accessible and communal study spaces, and many others.
To add more, running a school-wide pre-meal programs can enhance exam results and math grades, and an adequate and healthy diet might increase the quality of time spent in school by boosting up the energy and alertness. Hence, the rate of school absence and tardiness will be reduced. Also, investing further in technology can assist students improve their motivation, enjoyment, and confidence in basic educational skills. Integrating this may benefit reluctant learners and eliminate learning barriers. Moreover, it allows for personalized learning and fosters an inclusive education environment for students. Modernized tablets and mobile tools have been discovered to provide opportunity to solve scarcity in books and textbooks. And guess what? Countries like South Africa, Kenya, and Uganda benefited from this type of technological investment. Aside from Niger, Bangladesh and Indonesia are also working hard to improve their educational programs by shifting language policies away from dominant language education and towards mother tongue-based multilingual education, since better curriculum, knowledge, and greater attitude towards school can be achieved if this will be implemented. Perhaps it could help students become more fluent communicators in their mother tongue and become confident not only in expressing themselves but also in learning new concepts in school. More importantly, it may prevent children from alienating themselves from their native language and culture as well as to their parents and community. The issue of Niger's low literacy rate is intertwined with some of the country's major economic problems like poverty and food insecurity. As a result, it had an impact not only on its economic development but also on its people, particularly women and children. But then again, with concerted actions and sound policies such as increasing the availability of educational and instructional materials, lowering student-teacher ratios, encouraging community efforts, running a school-wide pre-meal program, technological investment, and instituting a mother tongue-based multilingual education, a problem like this can still be solved.